All right, everyone. We have quite a few of you here with us. Excited to see everyone. Um, Today, we are here for our what we hope to be a regular occurrence, our monthly momentum planning sessions. So we're going to be doing these sessions to help everyone get acclimated into the monthly planning process and the monthly planner in our app. So for everyone, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Megan Haggerty. I am the Momentum Skills Coach here at Momentum. And I'll be walking you through how to plan out December so that you can end the year with a little bit of ease and not a lot of overwhelm. I am joined here today. We've got some teammates, Mariah and Oshi, and then also some teammates over in chat that are going to be helping me manage the chat. I see quite a few of you already starting to chat with one another. So just a few housekeeping items. Today is a webinar. So we're going to be doing a little bit of teaching, a little bit of demonstration, and then at the end, we're going to be giving hopefully at least 15 minutes for open Q&A where you can ask me anything about the app, about the planning process. So if you have a question that you want to ask, please do, and you can add that to the Q&A area, and then the team will kind of be monitoring what responses we get. And if you have a question about any of the items that I'm going to be sharing on screen today, and you're just confused about something, or you're needing me to slow down or speed up, if in the chat you want to let the team know, and Mariah will pop in and let me know that there's a question about whatever we're covering. Last bit of housekeeping, because we are in webinar view in your chat function, please do make sure to toggle at the bottom of chat from host and panelists to everyone. And we'll make sure that way, if you want to chat with everyone here, you can do so. And our events, we have a lot of great, wonderful conversations that happen in the chat. I'm kind of sad that I'm not going to be able to be paying attention too much to that today. But please do chat with one another, get to know with one another. And if you have a question, if you want to just add a Q before it, that will help the team more easily flag what's going on. All right, just checking my list over here to make sure I covered everything. All right, so before we dive in, wanna just kind of point out the elephant in the room, that it is December 1st. We have made it to the end of the year, but also, I don't know about you, but I'm not sure how that exactly happened. It feels like just yesterday was April. So a lot of times this last month of the year gets us to a place of a little bit of anxiousness about trying to get all the things finished off and checked off the list before that calendar changes over from 2022 to 2023. And I want to encourage us all to kind of think about, what do we really want for this last month of the year? How do we want to end it off? Do we want to end it in that kind of go, go, go mode? Or do we want to end it off calmly and serenely so we can kind of enter 2023 on great footing? So as we go through, just kind of keep that, what December really is and what it can be in mind. All right, with that, I am going to jump in to some just core principles that are helpful for the planning process, whether you are using, no matter what you're using, whether you're using the app, whether you're using our paper planners, these are just core principles that'll really help you as you are moving forward in the planning. So, and again, it's the holidays, so we really want to get you ready for success this holiday season. So, core principles. So first, what is a project? We talk a lot about projects here at Momentum, and project to us is anything that takes your time, your energy, and your attention. So kind of the fun acronym we have for that is T. And the reason why we think of things in projects is because it makes us realize that pretty much anything and everything can be a project. So often when we're doing our planning process, we are so focused and honed in on our professional projects that we forget that things in our personal life are also worthy of planning and worthy of being on our calendar. So what I want you to kind of now think about is, what are all of the projects that I have on my plate? You know, if you are moving, that's a project. If you are looking for a new job, it's a project. If you're transitioning into new roles at your company, that's a project. If you're sick or maybe taking care of someone that's sick or maybe have a chronic illness, that's a project. And the holidays are most certainly a project. You might even consider them more than one project. So as we go into that, you know, it can be overwhelming as we start to think about everything as a project. So that's where the 5-project rule comes in. So the 5-project rule is no more than 5 active projects per timescale. So I want to break that down into its 3 distinct parts. So the no more than 5 active projects per timescale. So no more than 5. Thing here to realize that that 5 is your upper limit, that really any more than 5, it's going to be really hard to move forward. And what tends to happen is if we pile on more than 5 things at one time, we actually end up moving less than 5 things forward because we are so, context switching all the time. It can get really hard to make true momentum on anything. I also want to remind everyone that we have one pool of energy. So I'm sorry to say that you don't get 5 personal projects and 5 professional projects. It is 5 projects altogether. The rule of thumb we like to use here is if you're going to do the 5, then try to make no more than 3 your professional and at least 2 personal projects. Because again, you and your life and the things that are happening in your life matter. And lastly, what this does do is it constrains us based off of what capacity we truly have at any given time. And those constraints are really helpful in helping us to prioritize what we're doing. So active projects, what do we mean by this? So it might seem odd that I am talking about active projects. Aren't all projects active? But in truth, there are actually 5 other types of projects that we could be carrying around with us without even realizing it. So when we're thinking about the 5 projects that we want to do for December, consider what you are actively moving forward. So the other project categories here, you might be thinking about possible projects you might do. Maybe some of those projects for 2023 that you're thinking about having on the horizon, but you're not yet ready to move on them. So get them out of your head, get them off of your list, and make sure that when you're planning December, you're really thinking about just the active ones. On hold projects might be projects that you've moved forward as much as you possibly can, but now you're waiting on something. Maybe you're waiting on resources, maybe you're waiting on approval, and maybe it is, so it's stuck in this holding pattern. So you might want to either defer it to January, or maybe you want to archive it, and then you can come back to it once that hold period is off. And we'll go through how to do all of this in the app in just a minute. You might have a stuck project, something that just got stuck along the way for whatever reason it is, and you're not really sure when you're going to be able to get back to it. Again, get it off your head, get it out, and then maybe archive it until you know you can come back to it. You might also be carrying around some dead projects or projects you dropped along the way. A lot of times we start the year with, ideas that we want to move forward, but circumstances happen and we find ourselves here at the end of the year, and we're not in the same place that we were when we started a project. And so maybe that project is no longer necessary to be on our plates. So if you are carrying around something and it keeps going from month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year, maybe take a look and say, am I really ever going to do this project? And if you need to, let it go. And then finally, often we have projects that we think are done, but then they come back to haunt us, right? We've finished it off, we like did the last step, and then but things keep coming up and popping up from these projects. And often that is due to the fact that we haven't closed it out and done our CAT work, which for us is clean up, archive, and trash. December makes a great month for these kind of cleaning up, archiving, and trashing projects to kind of really close out so you can start 2023 fresh. So we'll go over actually one of those as an example today. And then lastly, the third part of the project rule is the per timescale. So the great thing about Momentum is it lets you see multiple time perspectives at any given time. And it lets you think about what are my projects for the year, right? There are some projects that will span across from January to December. And then within that year, there might be quarter-sized projects of that, within that month-sized projects, and then down to the week and down to the day. So Momentum lets you plan out all of those. Today, we're going to be focusing in on the month, but because we're focused on the month, as you're going to see shortly, we're also going to touch on the quarter, and then we're going to touch on the week as well. All right, I am going to close out of this. Before I jump into getting the app set up for us, sorry, too many things on my screen. Mariah, are there any questions popping up or conversations that we should talk about?
Not yet, Megan, you're doing great.
Excellent. All righty, now we're going to jump into the app. So there's a few ways. I'm going to show you a few different ways to get into the app. I know this is a lot of questions Mariah has gotten is how do I find the app? So the URL is app.hellomomentum.app, and that will take you into the login screen. So today we're going to be working out of systems. Before I log in though, a few things that are really handy is bookmarking this page. If you're using desktop, it's great to bookmark it. I'm working on Chrome on a Mac, so I go to the update over here, check on bookmarks and bookmark this tab. And I can, that way I know I can always come back to it because it's bookmarked. You can also, if you like to use mobile, whether you're on tablet or your phone, you can actually create a Momentum app on your home screen of your mobile device. And we have some articles for both Android and iPhones for that purpose. But before I dive in, I want to show you one other way you can access the app. So on our website, hellomomentum.app, we now have recently included this handy login feature. So anytime you're like, where is the app login? You can just come to the website and it will always be up here in our header. And this site is also great to bookmark, by the way, because we have some great information here on our Get Started page that covers our methodology, the planners, how to get things set up, and then how to work through projects. And then we also have in what's currently called News and Features, our blog, which has some really great articles about how to best use the app and also how to kind of help you with your planning process overall. Our latest series on time blocking is really well done. So definitely recommend checking that out. All right, without further ado, let's log in. Okay. All right, so when you first log in to Momentum, it is automatically going to put you on this week's view. And we do this because we have found in the app, the week tends to be kind of that Goldilocks view and the view that people are going to most often. You can change this in your settings if you decide you'd rather kind of hone in on the month or hone in on the day. And we have articles again on how to do settings, but over here, if you ever want to update your settings, it is right here. So I want to go to December because we are planning the month. So there's a few ways you can get there. From the weekly view, you can go to this month's planner. You can also go up here in our header, and then there's a drop down if you wanted to go to any other month. And then our last way of navigating around is this button up here. You can go to 2022, we're in Q4, and I want to go to December. And then to click out of that, you can just click that button once more. And now we found ourselves on the monthly planner. So what's great about all of the planners really in Momentum is that it's always showing you more than one view. Like I mentioned, it's showing you the month, but it's also giving you insight into your quarter and into your week. And the reason why we do that is because it's really helpful to orient ourselves to kind of be able to see this view. So when we're in the present moment, which is this month, and we'll fill in the projects in just a minute, if you're trying to figure out why am I doing these projects this month or what is the purpose, I can look up to the quarter and see, okay, I know these are my quarterly projects. This is why this project, this month-size project is important. And then if you look over to the week, it really helps you see how you're going to get those month-size projects done. So rule of thumb, if you want purpose or the why, go up a time perspective. And if you want to know how or the action steps that you need to take, go down a time perspective. So all of our planners, no matter what perspective you're looking at, are always going to have a left side and a right side. So over here on the left, you'll see the plan. This is the planner side. So you'll see both currently what's happening and also what you've committed to from a higher order time perspective. And over on the right, we have what's called our dashboard view. And this really just gives you an insight into how that time perspective, so in this case, the month, is going to play out. And just a quick demonstration of what this looks like on a mobile device is, again, over here, you have the toggle button for planner, the planner view, again, the quarter and the month. And over here on the right, the dashboard view, which shows you how your month is going to break out into the weeks. All right, I'm going to pull this full screen again, easier for me to view. So now let's go into actually filling this out. So like I talked about earlier, we're in the last month of the year. There's a lot going on. And the reality with December is it's really just a 2 full work week month. You really only have 2 full work weeks within this month. So currently we're already halfway through week 1. We're actually more than halfway through. And so week 2 and 3, which are next week and the week after, are probably the last full work weeks you have. Because once you get into week 4 and 5 here, a lot of things are going on with the holidays. And even if you're planning to kind of work through the holidays, chances are a lot of the people that you work with, your colleagues, anyone you might collaborate with, is not going to be available during those weeks. So really you want to think about, this month really only being able to accommodate 2 weeks worth of work. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about your projects. So when we're doing our monthly planning, first step I like to do is, what projects did I commit to for the quarter? So since we're already at the tail end of Q4, I have already gone in and entered a few example projects for the quarter. So we have redesign our company website. We have deliver project X. I intentionally left this as general because I want you to think about, if you have a project that you are delivering, that might be, if you're an author, delivering the manuscript to, your publisher, that might be a quarter-size project. If you are delivering a new program, that might be a quarter-size project. So I just wanted to kind of put in something that maybe you might be at the tail end of, because this is going to be, as we'll go through, an example of where CAT work might come into play. And then I also, for my own personal project, develop a self-care routine. And when we're developing routines are great quarter-sized projects because often it takes us some time to figure out what we want our routine to be. That could be a month. Start actually living that routine. That could be another month. And then the third month of the quarter might be, making changes based off of what's working and what's not working. So when we're thinking about December, we might look at what do we have on the quarter and what projects might fall out of this that would be a good month-sized chunk of this. So I'm going to start filling a few in so you can see how we add our projects. So you click on Add Monthly Project. And for this Redesign Company website for December, we're going to work on updating our site copy. And like I said, that is going to link to our quarterly project of redesign. And if I start typing, it automatically pops up. Wait, sorry, redesign. Try that one more time. Of course, when we are live, we're getting a bug.
Sometimes if I refresh the browser, it'll help.
Thank you, Oshi. Sorry, guys. We are still finding, we are kind of learning what works, what doesn't work. And if you ever find something that is not working for you, please do reach out. We will put that on our list. So redesign. Okay, this still seems to be a bug. All right, so we have identified a bug. Ideally, that would link to the quarter size project. I like to use this color coding to help me kind of see what projects relate with what. So when I did my quarter size projects, the redesign of the company website, I made in this nice violet color. So I'm going to choose that. You can choose the color coding in any way you want. You can choose not to use it and just leave the defaults there. Right. I'm going to also, for deliver project X, what I talked about earlier with Catwork. We have now delivered it. We are done, but there's still some cleanup, archiving, and trash work that we need to do. So put finish Catwork for project X. Now let's see if this works. No? Okay. For this one, we have it I use this green color, and then I'm going to add one more project, which is ease into the new year with intentional fallow period. I know that one's a little bit long, but for me, it really is helpful to kind of make my project name SMART. And so SMART from our perspective is specific. If I read it, I know exactly what it is that I'm doing. Meaningful. So for me, that kind of ease into the new year, that gives it meaning, knowing why I'm doing this thing. Actionable, that I know that I am going to be having a fallow period, which is actually an action via inaction. Realistic, I know I'm going to make time to do this, and have it trackable. So I have, as part of the self-care routine, have some tracking habits that have some habits that I'm tracking. So I know that this is SMART. All right, and I'm going to try this one more time. Okay, for this one, I choose pink. Okay, so now I have 3 month-sized projects put in here that relate to my quarter-sized projects. But not all projects are going to have to relate to something. So I mentioned earlier that the holidays are a project. For me, that doesn't necessarily link up to anything that I was doing over the course of October, November, December. For me, it's really about December. So I'm going to create a month-sized project that's not linked to anything. Oh, I just noticed that while it didn't show up as I was doing it, you can see that all of these projects are indeed linked. So the update site copy links to the redesign of the website, the finish the cat work relates to delivering project X, and the ease into relates to the develop self-care routine. So might just be a matter of screen share, not kind of functioning in the way I want it to today. So again, I'm going to do just a monthly project just for December, and that's going to be enjoy the holidays. And again, it's that meaningful knowing that I want to enjoy the holidays. I don't want it to be the hustle and bustle of worrying about all of the things and the parties and the gifts and all of that, and really a reminder to myself to enjoy. All right, so now we have our 4 monthly projects, and you can see we have a counter here at 4. I'm going to stop here. You could add a 5th one, or if you find as you're adding monthly projects, this number starts to creep up over the 5, have another look at it, think about what the realities of the month are. And like I talked about earlier, is there a way you might, either move these or archive them to a future state? I'm going to go through in just 1 minute. Before we do, I want to quickly go into the monthly dashboard. So over here, we have the section at the top of our dashboards for notes. And I like to use this as a reminder to myself as to what is priority. That might be a priority project. It might be how I want to feel during the month. It might just be, a reminder of, who I want to be connected to. So for me, I know December can be a really hectic month. So I'm going to leave myself a note to remember to stay smooth and calm. All right, let's go into a week. When you're planning out your month, and if you know that there are week-sized projects that relate to your month projects, you can go into each week and kind of add those in. But I just want to note that you don't need to, at the monthly planning perspective, have every moment of every day of every week planned out when you're doing your monthly planning. Do as much as you can, as much as you know, and then on the weekly, you can go in and update them and do your weekly planning. And that reminds me, in about 2 weeks, we're still setting up the date and the time. We're going to be doing another one of these sessions that's going to be all about weekly planning. So you should be getting an email about that in the coming days. All right, let's go to the first week, and we can just kind of see how to fill in maybe some week-sized project chunks for the redesign, for the updating of the site copy. So now we're in the weekly, and you can see that the app is asking me to confirm my December projects. So it's basically just asking me to kind of have a look. What did I commit to for December? Does this still make sense? And to confirm. That's really all that is just kind of another look to kind of see what you promised yourself you were going to do. So I'm going to hit confirm. If you ever need to change it, you can easily go back to the month planner and change them. So from the weekly view, you have the month, week projects, and then you also have this scheduled events. So I've gone in and already added in a few events for next week, just based off of what I know is going to happen. But we'll show you some examples of how you can add those in. But when you have things like weekly meetings, like we do every Monday, or there's an event coming up like the company holiday party, these are great things to put in as at the monthly perspective. And then as you go through your weeks, you can add in more of the detail of what has been added to your calendar over the weeks. All right, so let's add in we're going to go through the week projects for the redesign of the company website. So we're going to want to this week get final approval for new copy. And that links to our update site copy. And that one was purple. And I'm going to hit save, and it did connect. Now let's say we know also then the following week for that same project, add project, that we're going to want to make final edits and proofread. Again, this relates to the update site copy. And that was the purple. And save. And then finally, we know we're going to be in this final week of, or not the final week, the week of the 18th. So we're going to add, that's the week we're going to go in and apply the updates to the site, because it's a great time when maybe not a lot of traffic is happening. And again, update site copy, and it's purple, and it's saved. And so now if we go back to the months planner, you can see that these projects, these week-sized chunks, have already started filling in over here on the dashboard. Right. And I just want to do we'll do one more for the week, and then I'll show you how to add a scheduled event, and then also how to link that scheduled event to a project. So for our Deliver Project X, which was our quarter for December, we were going to do the cat work. For this week, we're going to conduct an after action review. For those of you that aren't familiar with that term, it is essentially a reflection on the project at the end of the project, where you go through what worked, what didn't work, what did I learn. And we like to do that when we're doing team projects, bring the team together and have one of these. And it's a great resource to have if you're doing projects of a similar nature in the future. All right, Mariah, did you have a question?
Yeah, Megan, it looks like Joey had a question. He was asking if we had any plans to have an option for recurring events, projects, and tasks.
That is a great question, Joey. We have that option if you have Google Calendar, you can sync your Google Calendar to Momentum, so that when you input an event in Momentum, it will automatically show up on your Google Calendar. And when you input an event on your Google Calendar, it will automatically sync to your Momentum planner. And what you can do for recurring events like the weekly team huddle here is, if I put that on my Google Calendar that was linked to Momentum, it would automatically show up in my weekly planner week over week. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, we don't have the option in the app to set up the recurring. That is in the pipeline for development. And we're also working on getting that kind of sync with things like iCal and Outlook as well. So does that answer the question for Joey?
That's a yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All righty. I'm going to just, I realized we are running long, or running further past schedule than I wanted to. I just want to show you how to add a scheduled event, how to link it to a project, and then do a few other things, and then we can get to questions. So for this after action review, I know that I am going to be leading the after action review on with the team and that links to our weekly project of conduct the after action review. I'm going to be doing this on Wednesday, so is the 7th. We're going to be doing that at 3 p.m. and that will go to 4 p.m. And again, that one is green, and I'm going to hit save. So now you can see in the scheduled events, the leading the after action review is the scheduled events, which has now made it over here to the dashboard. It's connected to the conducting after action review, which was my weekly project. And we are going to be doing that at 3 o'clock. All right, I'm going to go back to the monthly planner and just show you the last bit, which is a lot of options. And this is all throughout the planner, but I'll show you on the monthly where we can do different things. If I decided that the updates to the site copy needs to move to January because it's just not going to be able to get done in time, I can quickly kind of move it a month. So you can move it when you're in the month view or the month projects, you can move them month over month. I could also choose to prioritize this one, and that way it'll stay up top here and it will have a star next to it. And that way I know this is kind of the project I really need to keep my eyes on, or the project that I need to make sure it gets done. You can also archive. The archive is a great trick or a great feature for when you have projects that you've planned out, but now you're like, you know what, I think this needs to move. I just don't know when I need to move it. So you can hit archive and it will move it over here into your archive box and archive. So it now takes it off of your monthly calendar. But if I decide I want to unarchive it, I can do that. And I could decide where I want it to go. If I decide it needs to move to February, I can do that. And it will automatically move not just the month, but anything that's linked to the month over to where I move it to. So I'm going to keep it in December for now, but that is definitely a great trick for as you're planning out your projects and you realize, oop, this needs to move, but I'm not sure when. Put it in your archive and you'll always have access to it. And then right now, everything is cleaned up. All right. Now we have I know we only have about 6 minutes left based off of the time that we decided on. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Megan. Mark had a question here. Let me find it. Mark was wondering if you could also duplicate wait, sorry, wrong one. Mark asked, how do you get the week's projects assigned to the day? And then there's a following question after Mark.
The week's projects assigned to the day. Okay, so I think what Mark is asking, so if you have put in your week's project, so like for instance here, my project for the week is to conduct the after action review. That might have multiple steps in it that I might do over the course of that week, right? So I might say on Monday or say Tuesday, that if we're having our after action review on Wednesday, on Tuesday, I might want to kind of finalize notes for the AR. So I have it ready and I can link that now to my conducting the after action review and hit save. And now you can see that that is now a project here of finalizing it connected to the conduct the after action review. Does that answer the question?
I believe it does. Mark, does that answer your question? He says yes.
Excellent.
And then the question is from Colleen. I'm going to go ahead and add her in, okay?
Excellent. Hello, Colleen.
Hello, good afternoon. So I just wanted to know if Momentum could be used like as a project management tool that I could share with my teams. And then we used to use Teamwork Projects. And so we're looking for our new project management software. And I was initially thinking of this as a personal productivity tool, but I'm wondering now if we could actually use it for our small business and share tasks across teams and build project plans together?
Yes, we do. We get that question a lot, Colleen. Right now, this is really more of a personal productivity tool. We are working, one of the other features in the pipeline is to kind of how do you share schedules? So it's not necessarily like a project management where you're linking it and assigning it to people, but you can kind of share. What this does do is really help individuals look at what they have based off of the needs of, the larger group projects. So what we do at Momentum actually is we use Asana for our project management. And what we do is, I never really use the daily function here in the app because the tasks that are in Asana are already kind of covered and they're interconnected with what others on the team are working with. But what helps me is really this week view of seeing how my week is going to kind of play out, what things I have on the calendar, so that when I'm looking at the projects the team is working on as a whole, I can go, oh, you know what, actually, I have quite a few tasks here that, we might need to renegotiate. Does that answer your question? Clear as mud?
It does, yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Colleen.
All right, Megan, and Mark also has a couple more questions, so I'll go ahead and get him on with you as well.
Sure.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Hey, Mark. I can. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. You were saying you like to use colors, and I just don't see like on the screen where the colors show up. And then I didn't know what your methodology was for how you select a color for what thing.
Got it. So the colors are it might be hard to see on my screen, but they're over here on the left-hand side. They're really subtle.
Okay, I got it.
And then the colors, so right now I'm in our kind of standard color palette. You can change this, which will then change kind of the color palette here.
Right.
My methodology for choosing is a personal one, right? So some people really do well with kind of color and seeing, that color coding. Some people it's just noise. So it's really a personal preference. One of the things we're really excited to hear from users is how you guys are using the features, because I have, seen a lot of people get really creative with how you might use it. Instead of doing it by project or by kind of, how I used it, which was the quarter to the month to the week, you might use it more if you do block planning, for instance, and maybe in the week or the daily, and you want to put different colors for the type of work that you're doing.
Okay, so you just use it for just like kind of like the first dot is for the quarter and then the project, or how do you use it? I just wondered.
Oh yeah, so how I like to use it is I pick a color for whatever the largest scale of the project is. So if that's for the quarter, if that's for the month, I'll pick a color. And then as I break that down into monthly chunks or weekly chunks or daily chunks, I'll keep that color consistent, because how I guess my brain works is I associate this purple color with the updating of the website. So I know anything to do with that, I'm going to see a little purple strip with.
Okay, thank you. And then the last thing I was curious about is I like going in and kind of structuring like you've done here, but then when I get meetings and everything like that, they're automatically booked on my Outlook calendar. So I'm trying to determine, do I take these things and then re-enter them in Outlook? Does Outlook at this point integrate it all with this?
No, unfortunately, right now, we started with Google because that was the majority of our users were using Google.
Right.
And so we wanted to test out all the functionality with that. And then we're now building out for Outlook and iCalendar for the Apple. I don't have an exact timeline of when that's going to roll out, but definitely in 2023, hopefully on the earlier side of 2023. And we can definitely, as those are rolling out, let users know. And Mark, you can go on we have a list of a few users that we know are kind of looking for Outlook in particular. So we can make sure to send
Right.
you an email.
And then the
when
last
that
thing is,
happens.
let's say you put everything together for your week, like an Outlook, you can just print your plan for the week.
Mhm.
Show me how you would print the week.
Sure.
I didn't,
Absolutely.
because I've done it, but I don't remember how now.
So it is in settings, and Mariah, keep me honest here. I realized I have not done this in a while. So thank you for the question, Mark.
Sure.
We do have a blog post on how to print, which goes through the steps, step by step.
Megan, I believe you
Megan?
just go to the page that you'd like to print and hit Control P, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Oshi,
Yeah.
that's correct. We are working on the printing
we go.
functionality that should be rolling out pretty soon.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have a
So-
whole print icon within the app itself.
Okay,
Thank
so
you
if you hit P, will it show you a print preview there?
So what I would do, Mark, is I'm on Chrome, but whatever you're on, if you go to File and Print, and do you see the pop-up menu or no?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I would then print it to my home printer, and like as you can see, it does give you
Okay.
that view. Yeah, we know that a lot of
Okay.
people are transitioning over from that paper to the digital, so that's a great in between.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you for all your help. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Hey, Megan, Mark also had a question a little bit earlier on. He was asking if you had any private sessions for Learning Momentum.
We do have Momentum Skills Coaching, which goes, can include kind of using the app, but really it's more about the foundational principles used in the planning process. So we can share that link. That's actually over on our Productive Flourishing site. So Oshi or Mariah, if you can drop that link in the chat. So it is more extensive than just learning the app, but that would be kind of the closest thing we have. And so that is 4 sessions with me. They're weekly. We walk through kind of the whole planning process, figuring out how to get your schedule kind of aligned with what works for you, and then how do you move your projects into the app or whatever planning process that you use. All right, I know we went a little over. I think we scheduled this for 45 minutes. So I want to thank all 31 of you for hanging in with us. Are there any final questions, Mariah, before we say goodbye?
I am not seeing any. I think we're good to go.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, for joining us today on our very first one of these. So we're going to be planning to do a monthly planning webinar like this one every month moving forward. And probably middle of the month, we'll be doing one that's focused more on the week. So in 2 weeks, if you want to come back, we'll get that information out to everybody in the next few days. But we love to hear from you. We'd love to hear if you find a bug, please let us know. If you found something that works, if you've had a success story, if you've kind of figured out a fun way to use colors or any of the other features, please do reach out to us. Mariah, if you can leave your I think it's support at hellomomentum.app. Mariah will be kind of fielding any of those. And if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, I'd love to hear if this was helpful to you. You can reach out to me at megan@productiveflourishing.com. All right. With that, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Bye, everyone.